From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. called on Filipinos to remain resilient and optimistic amid life's trials as the nation commenced its solemn observance of Holy Week. In his Palm Sunday message, the President reflected on the significance of the Passion, Death, and Resurrection of Jesus Christ, urging the public to draw strength and hope from the example of the Savior's sacrifice. Filipinos mark Holy Week with deep devotion through church services, processions, and personal acts of penance. President Marcos encouraged Filipinos to remain steadfast despite adversity, drawing parallels to Christ's perseverance. The chief executive further highlighted Easter's message of hope and spiritual renewal.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has issued proclamations declaring special non-working days in 6 towns. The special holiday declarations are contained in Proclamation Numbers 849, 850, 851, 852, 853, and 854, signed by the President on April 8th. Based on Proclamation Number 849, a special holiday was proclaimed in Bawan, Batangas Province on May 2nd to celebrate the Sublian Festival, which is held annually in honor of the image of the Holy Cross. Proclamation 850 declares May 5th a holiday in the city of Santiago to mark the celebration of its 31st cityhood anniversary. May 5 was also declared a holiday in Kapangan, Benguet Province to commemorate the birth anniversary of Governor Bado Dangwa, according to Proclamation 851. Dangwa, born in Kapangan, Benguet on May 5, 1905, served as First Lieutenant and Major in the Philippine Army during World War II and as Benguet Governor from 1953 to 1963. Proclamation 852 declares May 8th as a holiday in Rojas, Cotabato Province to celebrate its 58th founding anniversary. Similar holiday was declared in San Jose, Negros Oriental Province on May 9th to celebrate its Charter Day, and in Uyugan, Batanes Province on May 20th for its Foundation Day, according to Proclamations 853 and 854 respectively.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has signed into law a measure reorganizing the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, into the Department of Economy, Planning, and Development, or DepDev. Under Republic Act, or RA 12145, inked by the President on April 10th, the DepDev will serve as the government's primary economic and planning agency and the primary policy, planning, coordinating, and monitoring arm of the executive branch on the national economy. The new department is directed to undertake consultations with appropriate government agencies, civil society organizations, non-government organizations, people's organizations, the academe, private sector and local government units or LGUs to incorporate their priority needs in the formulation of policies, plans, programs, and projects. The DepDev will be composed of the Office of the Secretary, the offices of the Undersecretaries and Assistant Secretaries, technical and sectoral staff, operations support staff, and regional offices. The DepDev Secretary, as the country's chief economist, is directed to advise the President and the Cabinet on matters of national and sub-national economic and social development. The Secretary is also mandated to provide regular reports on the state of the economy and future challenges, lead public discourse on the latest trends, strategic issues, future thinkings, and key developments, and provide executive direction and supervision over and establish policies and standards for the department's efficient and effective operations. The department head is also tasked to exercise disciplinary powers over officers and employees of the DepDev and promulgate rules and regulations for the implementation of the DepDev's mandate, objectives, and policies. The agencies currently attached to the NEDA will be attached to the DepDev and will continue to operate and function in accordance with their respective charters, laws, rules, and regulations or orders on their creation, except as otherwise provided in RA 12145, the Administrative Code of 1987, and subsequent laws. The Philippine National Volunteer Service Coordinating Agency and the Tariff Commission will be attached to the DepDev for purposes of administrative supervision. The Philippine Institute for Development Studies, the Commission on Population and Development, the Development Academy of the Philippines, and the Public-Private Partnership Center of the Philippines will serve as attached agencies of the DepDev for purposes of policy and program coordination. The DepDev will establish, operate, and maintain an office in each region of the country except in Metro Manila and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or BARM. Based on RA 12145, the NEDA Board will also be reconstituted as the Economy and Development or ED Council, which will be headed by the President of the Philippines. The ED will serve as the executive collegial body responsible for directing and providing overall policy direction on economic matters to achieve inclusive and sustainable economic growth and development. RA 12145 takes effect 15 days after its publication in the Official Gazette or a newspaper of general circulation.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. directed the military to ensure peace and security across the country amid the election season. According to a Presidential Communications Office or PCO news release, the President gave the order during his visit to the troops of the Army's 6th Infantry Division at Camp Brigadier General Gonzalo Sionco in Datu Odin Sinsuat, Maguindanao Province. The Commander-in-Chief emphasized the importance of military presence and visibility, especially with the ongoing campaigning for the May 12 midterm elections. On March 19th, the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, reported a slight decrease from 38 to 36 areas facing serious election-related threats. President Marcos lauded the Army's 6th Infantry Division for its hard work in bringing peace to the region and for welcoming back former rebels into the fold of the society. The chief executive said, domestic stability in areas in Mindanao was achieved because of the government's peace initiatives. The PCO said more than 1,000 firearms, small arms, and light weapons captured, confiscated, and surrendered from 2024 to April 10, 2025 were presented during President Marcos's visit to the troops. President Marcos expressed confidence that the Philippine National Police or PNP can handle the remaining pockets of insurgency in the country. The Philippine Army earlier said communist insurgents are no longer capable of disrupting or influencing the 2025 midterm elections. On March 26, the National Security Council said the new People's Army or NPA is now leaderless and only has one remaining weakened guerrilla front that is expected to be dismantled within the year.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Interagency Humanitarian Contingent will return home Monday after its deployment to Myanmar, where it extended emergency response support following the devastating 7.7 magnitude earthquake on March 28th. According to a news release over the weekend, the Philippine contingent is composed of 89 personnel from various government agencies and private partners. The contingent will be welcomed at Villamor Air Base in Pasay City. The team is composed of the Office of Civil Defense or OCD, Philippine Air Force, Philippine Army, Department of Health, Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, Bureau of Fire Protection, Department of Environment and Natural Resources Emergency Response Team, Energy Development Corporation, and Apex Mining Company Incorporated. Defense Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. earlier conveyed President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s commendation to the team. OCD Administrator Undersecretary Ariel Nepomuceno, who oversaw the send-off on April 1st, is expected to lead the welcome reception. The contingent concluded its operations on April 12th. A congratulatory gathering that day was attended by Philippine Embassy in Myanmar Chargé d'Affaires Angelito Nayan, who recognized the team's service and resilience during the mission. The Philippines facilitated the delivery of 19,458 pounds or 8,844.63 kilograms of humanitarian aid, including hygiene kits and tarpaulins donated by the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance, using C-130 aircraft provided by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The mission is part of the One ASEAN, One Response initiative aimed at strengthening regional disaster response and solidarity. So far, over 3,600 people have been reported to have died due to the earthquake.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, the strong military ties between the Philippines and the United States were further highlighted following an introductory phone call between the respective National Security Advisors or NSAs of the two governments on Friday. In a media statement Saturday, the National Security Council or NSC said National Security Advisor Eduardo Año and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz of the United States held an introductory phone call on Friday to discuss recent developments in the Philippines-United States alliance. The two NSAs, the NSC said, exchanged views on the regional security situation, particularly in the South China Sea or West Philippine Sea. They tackled future bilateral activities between the Philippines and the U.S. that seek to accelerate the progress in the alliance. The NSC added that they also underscored the importance of engaging with other like-minded partners to ensure a free, open, and prosperous Indo-Pacific. Anyo and Waltz agreed to continue their discussion to include close coordination at the working level.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines Office of Civil Defense, or OCD, has signed 2 key agreements to boost disaster resilience across Negros Island, partnering with the city government of Victorias and the Negros Association of Chief Executives, or ACE. The signing comes in the wake of the April 8 eruption of Mount Canlaon, which displaced more than 25,000 residents. The Memorandum of Agreement, or MOA, with Victoria City focuses on enhancing the city's disaster risk reduction and management, or DRRM, capabilities, allowing access to the OCD's technical resources, training programs, and scientific data. The second MOA, signed with the Negros ACE, led by Victoria's Mayor and Group President Javier Miguel Benitez, expands the initiative to a provincial scale, targeting all local government units in Negros Occidental. In a statement over the weekend, OCD Administrator Undersecretary Ariel Nepomuceno said, "There are around 300 volcanoes in the country, with 24 active, including Canlaon." Nepomuceno, who is also Executive Director of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, added that the OCD can offer technical, managerial, operational knowledge, and scientific data that they get from all other agencies worldwide. The OCD said the newly signed agreements are expected to pave the way for a potential Negros Island DRRM summit and a more unified disaster resilience framework for the region. Nepomuceno assured local leaders nationwide of support from the national government in times of calamities.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine Department of National Defense, or DND, Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. said defense cooperation with Japan will receive a further boost once the Reciprocal Access Agreement, or RAA, goes into force. In a media statement over the weekend, DND spokesperson Assistant Secretary Arsenio Andalong said that Chodoro issued the observation during the recent courtesy call of newly promoted Japan Self-Defense Force, or JSDF, Vice Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Matsunaga Koji at Camp Aguinaldo in Quezon City. Andalong said Secretary Chodoro also noted that the entry into force of the Philippines-Japan RAA will further propel the two countries' defense partnership and will significantly improve the Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and JSDF's interoperability and joint capacities in addressing common security challenges. The RAA was signed on July 18, 2024 and ratified by the Philippine Senate on December 16th. The Japanese legislature is expected to ratify the agreement this year. Andalong said both officials expressed optimism that overall Philippines-Japan defense cooperation will continue to prosper in the coming years. The two camps noted the positive momentum of the two countries' strategic partnership, particularly in the area of defense and security. This was further boosted by the successful Defense Ministerial Meeting, or DMM, between Chodoro and Japanese Defense Minister Nakatani Gen on February 24th. Andalong said Lieutenant General Matsunaga reaffirmed Japan's commitment to expeditiously work on the attainment of agreed action items during the DMM, such as pursuing frameworks of cooperation to further enhance military-to-military cooperation, enhancing the AFP's maritime and air domain awareness capabilities, and identifying activities or engagements to promote and ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippines Department of Tourism or DOT expects over 30 million domestic and international travelers during the Holy Week break. In a news release, the DOT said tourists are expected to visit popular destinations across the country. Tourism Secretary Cristina Frasco assured the public that DOT has activated its regional operations for proper coordination and oversight of tourism destinations. She emphasized that booking with DOT-accredited establishments allow travelers have a standardized experience apart from safety against travel scams. DOT data in 2024 showed that the top destinations during Holy Week include Cebu, Bohol, Boracay, Palawan, Siargao, Baguio, Batangas, Ilocos Norte and Sur, Pampanga, Pangasinan, and Puerto Galera. Other emerging tourist destinations are Camiguin, Siquijor, Cagayan de Oro, Davao, and Sarangani. In Manila, Intramuros remains one of the most visited heritage and faith tourism sites. It is projected to welcome 2.4 million visitors this season, up from 2.2 million in 2023, driven by cultural attractions and Holy Week traditions such as Visita Iglesia. For tourism concerns, the public may also contact DOT through mobile number 0954-253-3215, email at tourismassistance@tourism.gov.ph, or via its official Facebook Messenger.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.